products. But the point really is, if you go back to what I've just explained in terms of a community to come together and get organized in Mazitas, because it's all of those things. It's a meeting place of information, and it's accessible clearly via the internet and online, which means an awful lot of people need help to do that, but then the community can do that. What's accessible at the same time is the marketplace. So any group bought product can be put in front of any of the groups on there in whatever format we choose. It probably isn't going to look like that. Any group product that people want to buy can be put on there, and people can come together and go and buy it as a group. So for those people who say, how would I negotiate? Who would I know how to speak to somebody in the corporation? How would I get started? It's simply there. Everything is going to appear before you and be part of. You can become part of something that works, is proven, is saving over £1 million already, and becomes an accessible space for you to come and achieve what it is you want to for your community. Now, if you're not thinking right now, what's the current reach, then you probably should be. Okay, so we're less than 100 organizations who are interested, yet we're already a reach of over 1 million people. Which means your community of 3 people who dance together, who want to buy something, clearly get involved in something that's, yes, sorry, somebody just asked the question, insurance. Absolutely. It doesn't matter whether it's mortgage insurance or any financial, you can keep that involved. You can involve that in a group community buy. Okay, so going back to my point, doesn't matter your community is 3 people, 3,000, 300,000, you benefit by the power of the group, of everybody else involved in that community. Which obviously would bring you to the question, find the right button to click, the potential that creates for you to then build your own group, or to save people in your group, the vulnerable, etc., to save them money, save them time. What's that worth? Because, of course, we're coming to a crunch question, aren't we? Well, it's worth an awful lot of money, obviously, isn't it? Surely this, therefore, is going to cost the earth. Now, of course, you might be a community of 3 or 3,000 or 300,000, etc. The costs are going to be completely different. But what if the cost is 0? What if your community is able to access all of this for 0? Now, it may not be, depending on what your community is, but there is a fair chance that it could be too. We'll cover that in the question and answer. But imagine all of that potential, and imagine it, you could access it for free. Now, remember our sausages for a social purpose, okay? Remember what that page looked like? Great. I bang on about this an awful lot, okay? The wheel over there, yeah, it really works. It really does work. Don't reinvent it. We've tried 4.5 years of this, and we're there. It's not perfect, and we want people to come and help us adapt it. But no new wheel is needed, because do you know what? People already come together. Mums and Todd's groups, people come together to plan and meet and have coffee and campaign, and they come together to generate their own energy. Would you believe? They come together to worship. That's not a hold up. Nobody's robbed any banks. That is people worshipping. They come together to have an amazing time and knit, and they are not obviously part of the Shreddies advert. All right. Okay. They come together to run, play sport, watch sport, get involved in all sorts of activities. And in almost every community, I'm sure, on the planet, people come together to dig, whether it's allotments or grow stuff, or actually have some sort of venture together on their fruit and vegetables and produce. And lots of community shops exist because of it. So why would you try and go and recreate that? Just harness the power of these groups and harness everything else. Now, why have I got a picture of locality which would appear to be completely and utterly disconnected from what I'm talking about? Now, interestingly enough, this is an advert for their next webinar, the Diseconomies of Scale. Now, I think that sounds very interesting. So why is it there? Well, let me ask you this, okay? Having the fact that you've already worked out that your group of 3 or 300 could now be part of something where there's potentially 1 million or 5 or 10 million, who knows? If you were looking as a community organization to place people in apprenticeships, what if you could ask 1 million people? And if you were looking as a government, because you've done an appalling job of getting out a government scheme and redesigning it and delaying it, etc. If you were looking for a fantastic route to tell 1 million people about something, I'm not even going to mention what it is because it's been such a disaster. Do you think that would be good? What about if you were just looking for community funding for that energy creation, for example? Or what about if you're the energy bill revolution, or you're the oil fuel poverty solution? not-for-profit, both fine institutions. If you're looking for support, what if you want to go and speak to 1 million people? What about if you want to take control of a community building because you know your rights? What's really interesting is that I have just proven that you can do that through this system, because I am telling you about locality, and I'm telling you, because they're a fine institution and we work very closely, but I'm telling you about their webinar. I'm explaining to you that you can highlight anything once you've got a group of people together. And I can categorically prove that community, when it's come together to buy something, can also do something else, because taking the ethos of all of those things, my own community has decided we don't really want to lose the NatWest that is in the small market town next to it. We've been told by letter that it's going to close in just a few weeks, and some people who have accounts with them and mortgages even still haven't even been told by letter. We're not very pleased. So a community has decided that it's going to create a campaign. Now, it doesn't actually matter that it's about 300 people in that community or around those parishes that we buy for. We're a group of people who have a common interest, and so we've put a message out there. And this is what we want to create. The same solution, the same scenario as was queuing out there. We either want our branch or we want people queued up at it to take out their deposits and their savings and to put them in the one remaining bank in the community, because that's the threat. Okay? Because that's what you do when you motivate and mobilise a community. Because a community can do anything. So therefore, why can't it buy stuff? So let's take it to the extreme. You may have heard about the smart city movement around the world. Okay, let's just talk about those in the UK. There are cities in the UK who are trying to adopt a model something similar to this. It's pretty extraordinary and it's very highbrow. And one thing they've managed to achieve is be slightly disconnected from the very people that they need to be connected with. And that is, of course, the community. A city, after all, might well be rather bigger than the village I buy in, but it is made of people, it's a community, and the one thing they need to do to get people to buy into their vision is harness it. Do you know what the best way to do that? Buy for people, create buying, smart buying, community buying. It's extraordinary. I tell this to everybody I've spoken to in the smart city movement, and they instantly go, light bulb moment, that's exactly what we should do. Now think about this. If we drag every smart city on the planet to Mazitas, or even just one or two, your community, I ask a question, how else could it have met with the power of purchasing of that, other than via community buying? So I'm getting to the end. We're going to launch another poll. We're going to ask a question, and we're going to say, having taken all of that into account, do you think Mazitas has a chance? Do you think it can? Do you think it actually can create something of phenomenal word impacting stage, that community buying goes mainstream, community buying goes mainstream and becomes bigger eventually than fair trade? People are voting. I'm watching. It's very interesting. I'm in stunned silence. Last chance to press a button. And I'm now going to close the poll. We are up to nearly 100% have voted. And here are the results. I think they speak for themselves. Thank you very much. That is a very larger number, that absolutely for definite than I expected. And I'm delighted to have absolutely none below I'm not sure yet. Okay, so I believe it has to. I genuinely believe it has to. Where we go on the planet, let's not get involved in that debate, but where we go in the UK with our recession, etc., I genuinely believe